Imagine a queen so powerful that even the rulers of Rome paid attention to her every move. A woman whose intelligence, charm, and ambition changed the fate of an entire empire, and a love story so dramatic that it ended with war, betrayal, and a mysterious death. This is the story of Cleopatra VII. More than 2,000 years ago, Cleopatra ruled Egypt and became one of the most famous queens in human history. But Cleopatra was not just known for her beauty. She was highly educated, spoke several languages, and understood politics better than most rulers of her time. Her life was filled with power struggles, dangerous alliances, and legendary romances. At one point, Cleopatra was forced out of her own kingdom and lost the throne of Egypt. But instead of disappearing into history, she came up with a bold and risky plan. A plan that would bring her face to face with one of the most powerful men in the world, Julius Caesar. What happened next would change the future of Egypt and Rome. How did a young Egyptian queen win the support of Rome's greatest general? How did her relationships with powerful Roman leaders lead to one of the most famous wars in ancient history? And the biggest mystery of all, did Cleopatra really die from a snake bite, or was her death something completely different? In this video, we're going to explore the full story of Cleopatra, her rise to power, her legendary romances, and the dramatic end of her life. But to understand Cleopatra's story, we have to go back to the beginning, because Cleopatra was born into a royal family where power was so important that even brothers and sisters could become deadly enemies. Cleopatra was born in 69 BC in the royal city of Alexandria, the capital of ancient Egypt. She belonged to the powerful Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek royal family that had ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years after the conquests of Alexander the Great. But life inside the royal palace was far from peaceful. In the Ptolemaic dynasty, power was everything. Family members often betrayed each other, and even brothers and sisters fought for control of the throne. From a young age, Cleopatra showed something unusual for a royal princess. She was incredibly intelligent and highly educated. Unlike many rulers of her dynasty, Cleopatra actually learned the Egyptian language and studied philosophy, politics, mathematics, and diplomacy. This made her very different from the rulers before her. When Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy XII Auletes, died in 51 BC, the throne of Egypt was left to Cleopatra and her younger brother Ptolemy XIII. According to tradition, the two siblings were supposed to rule Egypt together, but the partnership did not last long. Cleopatra wanted real power, but powerful advisors around Ptolemy XIII feared her growing influence. Soon, the palace turned into a place of conspiracies and political games. Within just a few years, Cleopatra was forced to flee Egypt. She lost her throne, her palace, and her power. But Cleopatra was not ready to give up. While living in exile, she began planning something incredibly bold. A move that would bring her into contact with the most powerful man in the Roman world. A man whose decision could either destroy her or return her to the throne of Egypt. That man was Julius Caesar, and Cleopatra was about to make one of the most daring moves in history. By the year 48 BC, Egypt was already in the middle of a dangerous political crisis. At the same time, Rome itself was going through a brutal civil war between two powerful leaders, Julius Caesar and Pompey. After losing the war, Pompey fled to Egypt, hoping to find protection from the young king Ptolemy XIII. But the advisors of Ptolemy XIII made a shocking decision. Instead of helping Pompey, they had him killed, believing that this would impress Julius Caesar. When Caesar arrived in Alexandria shortly after, he was not impressed at all. In fact, he was furious. This moment created a rare opportunity for Cleopatra. She knew that if she could personally meet Julius Caesar, she might convince him to support her claim to the throne of Egypt. But there was one huge problem. Cleopatra was banned from the palace, and her enemies controlled the city. Getting close to Caesar seemed almost impossible. So Cleopatra came up with a bold and legendary plan. According to ancient stories, she secretly entered the palace, hidden inside a large carpet or bedding sack, carried by one of her loyal servants. When the carpet was opened in front of Julius Caesar, Cleopatra suddenly appeared. The young queen immediately began speaking with confidence and intelligence, explaining her situation and asking for his support. Caesar was impressed, not only by her bold entrance, but by her intelligence, charm, and political awareness. Soon, Caesar decided to support Cleopatra's claim to the throne. This decision would start a violent conflict known as the Alexandrian War. But in the middle of war and politics, something unexpected also began to grow between Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. An alliance that many historians believe soon became a romantic relationship. And this relationship would soon change the future of both Egypt and Rome. With the support of Julius Caesar, Cleopatra finally had a chance to reclaim her throne. But the struggle for power in Egypt was far from over. Supporters of Ptolemy XIII refused to accept Caesar's decision. This led to a violent conflict known as the Alexandrian War. Fighting broke out in the streets of Alexandria. During the chaos, Ptolemy XIII attempted to escape across the Nile River. But according to historical accounts, he drowned while trying to flee. With her rival gone, Cleopatra was finally restored as the ruler of Egypt. But her connection with Julius Caesar had grown into something much more than a political alliance. Many historians believe that Cleopatra and Caesar developed a close romantic relationship. In 47 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to a son named Caesarion, whose full name was Ptolemy V Caesar. Cleopatra believed that Caesarion was the son of Julius Caesar himself. For Cleopatra, this child represented something extremely powerful, a possible future ruler who carried both Egyptian and Roman blood. Soon after, Cleopatra even traveled to Rome and stayed there as Caesar's honored guest. For many Romans, Cleopatra was mysterious, powerful, and controversial. Some admired her intelligence and charisma. Others feared her growing influence over Caesar. But before Cleopatra's future could become secure, Rome itself was about to explode into chaos. Because in 44 BC, something shocking happened. A group of Roman senators assassinated Julius Caesar inside the Roman Senate. His death would change everything. Cleopatra suddenly lost her most powerful ally in the world. But the story of Cleopatra was far from over, because soon another powerful Roman leader would enter her life. A man whose partnership with Cleopatra would lead to one of the most famous romances in ancient history. That man was Mark Antony, and their relationship would soon push Rome and Egypt toward a final devastating war. After the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC, Rome fell into political chaos. Power in the Roman world was soon divided between three leaders, including the powerful general Mark Antony. A few years later, Mark Antony summoned Cleopatra to meet him in the city of Tarsus. He wanted to question her loyalty to Rome. But Cleopatra did not arrive like an ordinary ruler. According to ancient historians, She sailed into the city on a magnificent golden barge, surrounded by music, perfume, and royal luxury. The scene was designed to impress, and it worked. When Cleopatra finally met Mark Antony, her intelligence, confidence, and charm immediately captured his attention. Soon, their political alliance turned into a passionate romance. Mark Antony began spending more time in Egypt with Cleopatra, and the two rulers formed a powerful partnership. Together, they dreamed of building a new empire in the Eastern Mediterranean. They even had 3 children together, strengthening their alliance even further. But back in Rome, their relationship created serious political tension. Another powerful Roman leader, Octavian, began using their relationship as political propaganda. Octavian claimed that Mark Antony had become too loyal to Cleopatra and was betraying Rome. The conflict between Octavian and Antony slowly pushed the Roman world toward a final confrontation. Soon, the rivalry turned into open war, and in 31 BC, their forces clashed in one of the most famous naval battles in ancient history, the Battle of Actium. The outcome of this battle would decide not only the future of Rome, but also the fate of Cleopatra herself. The turning point came in 31 BC during the famous Battle of Actium. The combined forces of Mark Antony and Cleopatra VII faced the powerful army of Octavian. But the battle did not go as they had hoped. Octavian's navy proved stronger and more organized. During the chaos of the battle, Cleopatra's fleet suddenly retreated. Mark Antony followed her ships, leaving the rest of their forces behind. This decision led to a devastating defeat. Within a year, Octavian's army invaded Egypt and marched toward Alexandria. Realizing that the war was lost, Mark Antony received false news that Cleopatra had died. Heartbroken and defeated, Antony took his own life. When Cleopatra learned about Antony's death, she knew that her fate was sealed. Octavian planned to capture her and take her to Rome as a prisoner, where she would likely be displayed in a humiliating public parade. Cleopatra refused to let that happen. In 30 BC, the queen made her final decision. According to the most famous story told by ancient historians, Cleopatra ended her life using the venom of a poisonous snake, often believed to be an Egyptian cobra. However, some historians believe she may have used a hidden poison instead. The exact truth about her death remains one of history's greatest mysteries. With Cleopatra's death, the Ptolemaic dynasty finally came to an end. Egypt was no longer an independent kingdom. Instead, it became a province of the Roman Empire under the rule of Octavian, who would soon become Augustus. But even after more than 2,000 years, Cleopatra's legend still lives on. She is remembered not only as the last queen of ancient Egypt, but as one of the most fascinating and powerful women in world history. A ruler whose life was filled with ambition, romance, political brilliance,